Hey guys, it's your best fight friends. I'm Kelsey. That's Rachel. Rachel, I don't even know the topic today.
I don't either.
We've been hard pressed to just pump out content about UFC 252, which is this Saturday.
Yeah.
Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier. It's the third fight of their epic trilogy. Some people would argue, Rachel, that the winner of this fight becomes the greatest UFC heavyweight champion ever.
Yeah, you know what I have to say about that?
You're like, I don't know.
Absolutely nothing, because I've not been a fan of the UFC long enough to have an opinion on that.
That's not
It
kept. That's
surprises
not
me.
kept other people from having opinions, Rachel. I say just go with it. You know, everything is always the biggest and the best.
I will say I haven't heard of another. So, like, I've heard of Conor McGregor. I've heard of John Jones. Those are probably the two UFC people before I was a UFC
That you knew
fan
were UFC.
that I just knew them. Yeah, them and Ronda Rousey. I can't think of a male heavyweight.
What about Brock Lesnar?
Oh, I guess he would have been a heavyweight.
He was a
huh?
UFC heavyweight champion.
So I only
I would
know
say
of him
that
through
he's-
WWE.
He's the only
Which
UFC
I'm also
heavyweight
a-
champion who was also Universal champion.
I'm also a relatively recent fan of the WWE, although I've been a fan of that longer
That's
than
true.
the UFC.
Can we talk about how bad it is to be like a professional wrestler and then go in and become UFC heavyweight champion? That's pretty rowdy, huh?
To be the professional wrestler first.
And then to cross over into UFC?
No, that is
That's about it.
totally like, and I didn't even know that. So when I started watching watching
Because
WWE,
you would think it would happen the other way around,
Probably
like it
like
normally does.
3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah.
that's when I was like, okay, Brock. I just assumed that Brock Lesnar came from the UFC over to WWE because that
No.
just makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
But no.
Brock
So
had-
yeah, that's pretty
Obviously,
rowdy.
Brock had some real I would say amateur wrestling skills and pedigree that allowed him to do both of those things exceptionally well.
Yeah.
People always want to label best and biggest and all that stuff. I do know that it's a super exciting fight. The first fight, Cormier won via first round knockout, which was a pretty shocking way to beat Miocic. The second fight, it looked like Cormier was on the way to win the fight, but all of a sudden things changed in the fourth round. Did you watch that fight with me? I think you did. Miocic started landing that left hook to the body, and then the fight was over. I don't really know what to make of the third fight, except that it's amazing to me that the UFC continue to pump out these fights, huge, massive, biggest fights of the year, superstars in these fights on pretty much a week-to-week basis. Meanwhile, in college football, we have entire huge conferences that make way more money theoretically than the UFC does, that are shutting everything down. We have other leagues that just got started. We have boxing that is stopping and starting and hasn't really produced any noteworthy fights yet. It looks like they're gonna start, but still,
Well,
it's
I think
a credit to the people at the UFC. I think
well, it's
that they're
also
able
a
to
credit
do this.
to a lot of the
And the mentality
the
of the UFC
participants.
fighters. Yeah.
So the fighters specifically, maybe this has to do with the pay structure of the UFC, but I know in boxing, a lot of our big names are holding out.
Because they're
and
used to getting paid
They
more.
want to get paid
Yeah.
in accordance with like what the live gate is. I don't know if in UFC their pay
Well,
has been
they don't
adjusted.
technically want to get in accordance with the live game. They want to get paid what they're used to getting paid.
And so in boxing, so I think it was quoted was Terrence Crawford, who was like,
Yeah.
he's not getting paid less just because, like, you know, there's nobody there. But in boxing, and I didn't even realize in boxing how much money the live gate brought in. Like, when I heard those numbers, I was like, oh, wow, I had no idea. So I do think there's a difference there. And, yeah, but I'm excited to see this fight. Here's what I thought, because I hadn't seen the first two fights up until a couple weeks ago. Just kind of seeing those two guys, I was like, Stipe is clearly, like, the dude's a giant. And he just seemed so, like, confident and in control of himself. I was like, Daniel Cormier is not going to win.
But
like,
the way that
Daniel
Cormier talks is like that he's super confident.
But I thought he's also a talker. You know,
He
like
is
Daniel Cormier's chatty. I love Daniel Cormier,
Yeah.
but he's chatty.
He's
so I was like, you know, I think
infectious.
that's a lot of talk. But then when we watched the two fights, I saw the longer fight, and I went, oh. I was like, Daniel Cormier is very skilled.
Yeah.
It was like really surprising to me, so much so that I kind of was like, Oh, I think I favor Daniel Cormier.
Yeah.
Now you favor Stipe into this being big and powerful and.
I think that yeah, it depends what you think happened in the first fight. I tend to think what happened in the first fight was what Stipe told me, is that he got hit with a punch he didn't see and got knocked out.
And sometimes that happens. That can happen.
That did not happen in the second fight. Regardless of what you'll say about the first 3 rounds, sure, like it seemed like Cormier was winning those rounds, but he didn't win the fight because he couldn't stop Miocic. Miocic, if he can see things coming, and usually good boxers like him or good strikers like him can see things coming. He made an adjustment to where he wasn't letting him in as close. He was using his length, and he can basically weather the storm until he wins the fight. I think that, but I don't know. I mean, it's an intriguing fight. It's even. The odds makers have it even pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's a pick-em, and it's an exciting, a huge fight. And like I said, a lot of people think that whoever wins this fight is the best heavyweight ever. That's a big deal. I don't know if it's true. Definitely, maybe, probably best UFC heavyweight. But if you get into MMA in general, you have to look at Fedor Emelianenko. Some people think he was the greatest heavyweight ever. Anyway, I know who the best vice friends are. It's you! And it's ever!
You're the best fight friends ever. So hey, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because you're our best friends.
Yeah, just do it. You have to. You're obligated.